Hi everyone, Nilesh here. Hope you are doing good. So in this video, I'll talk about how you can get a SharePoint list item with Power Virtual Agent using a Power Automate. So I have a SharePoint list here which is named as employee details, which is having employee ID, employee name, email, and status. So what I want is when someone enters an employee ID, the user should be able to get all the details about employee like employee name, employee email, and what's the status of employee. So let's get started and create one topic. So I'll click on topic. I'll create my new topic. Let's add trigger phrases as employee details. So this is the employee names, and here are the trigger phrases we will put in. So enter some trigger phrases as an employee details. Employee details. You can put as many as or trigger phrases into it. Employee info, employee info. Okay, so this is it. We have created plenty of trigger phrases. Let's add is. So I want to ask a question to the user. Please enter employee ID to get the employee details. Details. So by default, it is saying multiple choice question, but I need to get the entire response because it will be a simple employee ID. So I'll choose this, and from that I can choose user entire response. So is the variable created, and whatever the response given by the user which will be saved in this variable. So I will change the variable name as employee ID. Okay, so let's do a next step. So once the user enter employee ID, I need to fetch the value of the SharePoint list items. For that, I will be using call and action. That will be a Power Automate flow. So inside that call and action, I'll create a new flow. It will redirect me to Microsoft Power Automate, and it will automatically give me two options, which is Power Virtual Agent input and returning to Power Virtual Agent as output. So I will change the name to PVA to SharePoint here, and I'll ask the input as employee ID. Okay, so employee ID we will enter from Power Virtual Agent side. Now I'll add a new action, which is a SharePoint connector, and inside a SharePoint connector I will be using get items. So that we will get an item, I need to provide my site address. So for that site address I will copy from here, and even you can choose your site address from drop down. So when I click on drop down, here it will automatically share the list of site address that are available for me, and in the drop down list name will be automatically pop up, which is employee details. And so I want to get the details of only those with this employee ID, which I will provide in Power Virtual Agent. So for that I will be using show advanced option, and inside that I'll use a simple filter query, so that whenever employee ID is equal to this employee ID that which we have provided. So for that I need to enter the column name. So to get the column name, I'll go back to my SharePoint list. Here it is employee ID, but to check the actual name, I need to go to settings and list setting. Inside that, the first column is title. So employee ID is basically title, which I will copy from here. This is the actual schema name. Okay, so I'll add the schema name filter queries title EQ, and I will provide it from dynamic content. Here is the Power Virtual Agents, and it is the input variable that I will be getting from PVA, and I'll put that in a single quote as this is a string. So this is it. We will get the item. Now I want to return the value of a Power Virtual Agent. So I will add a text input here. Let's say employee name. But since get items may get more than one item, it will turn into a loop. But if you try to add employee name directly here, it will throw an error. Like the output you selected inside is in a collection and need to be looped over to be accessed. So as we all know that employee ID is only for one single user and it will give one item only. So let's create a variable first. So I'll be initializing a variable as employee name, which is a string. I will create another variable, which is as employee email. Again, it's a string type. I'm not putting value inside. And last is status. Again, initializing a variable, which is named as employee status. Putting in as, again, string value. Okay, so we have initialized the three variables. So whatever the item we will get, we will append to a string. Since it will give all the results and it will take you through a loop. So we need to loop it inside. We will use a for each loop from condition. Sorry, not from condition. Instead, we will use controls. From control, I will be using a apply to each loop. And inside that loop, I will be putting an output of get items. So I have created this step here, but I need to make it below get items so that I will get the output of get items. I will choose the value here. And inside that, I'll add an action as append to string. So append to string and it will showcase me the variable name. So I will choose first as employee name. And inside that value, I will provide employee name, which I will get from SharePoint connector get items. Next variable is employee email. And again, we will use employee email. Next is status, employee status, and I will put again the value as status, which I'll get from get items. So we got all the three columns inside this. So now we will pass these values, although previously it showcased some errors, but now if we pass the variables as employee name, again give another output as employee email and provide that variable. Next is status, that will provide us employee status. So now it's done that the trigger is whenever the Power Virtual Agent calls in for an action, we will create three variables for three different columns in the SharePoint list. Now we get items using a filter query, and to loop through it, we just appending to a string variables to all the variables that we have created previously and passing the variables to return the value to the Power Virtual Agents. So let's save it and go back to our Power Virtual Agent. Now we call an action. Now our flow will automatically seen here as PVA for SharePoint, and it will automatically showcase we need to pass the input and we will get the output, which is three outputs. So we'll pass the employee ID, which we have taken from the user as this employee ID variable. So I'll pass this, I'll choose this, and it will show me the list of variables available here, and I'll choose employee ID. Now employee ID will be passed to that Power Automate, and it will give me three outputs that I need to showcase to the user. Here are the details for employee ID. So I can insert a variable using this button. Here we will be able to see all the variables inside this topic. So here we have employee ID, and I'll pass as employee name. So I'll again insert a variable, that is employee name, email, and I'll pass employee email, and last is status. Again insert a variable, that is status. Now I'll save the bot and let's test it out. Refresh it. I'll ask as employee info, as this is one of the trigger phrases that I have added. Now it will ask me to enter one of the employee ID. So I'll go back to my SharePoint site, and here is this employee ID. We should enter 10013. So I'll provide 10013 as employee ID. So, and it's supposed to give me all the details about this employee. So here are the details for it. Employee ID this, name is equals to Apurti Kalkar, email is this one, and status is equals to completed. Let's try with another ID. Again, employee info, and let's provide some another details, which is 10012, 10012, and it will provided the details of Amar Sharma with this email and status. So this is how it is. Once you are done with all the topics, you need to publish your bot. Just go over here, publish, and click on publish content. So I'll talk about some of the settings available here. So here you can go to securities. As of now, authentication is set to no authentication. Even you can set your authentication to only for Teams, and with custom website, you can enter your own Azure AD Active Directory using Azure portal. And here you can publish, and we have several other channels you can publish in Microsoft Teams, demo website, custom website. So to paste this or to publish this Power Virtual Agent into a custom website, you need to go to custom website. It will provide you this embedded code. You just need to copy the code and paste the cut code snippet into your custom code of the custom website. So this is about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you soon.